Welcome back to Drunk on Writing. We just saw Avengers Endgame, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to give our impressions on it, and we're going to kind of go through the plot and go over some spoilers, discuss the spoilers, go full on as much as we feel like it anyway, because it's kind of late now. I think it's like 10:20, and I want to go to bed. And they have to work, so they want to go to bed. I wish I had to work, and then I would feel like going to bed, but I just want to go to bed because I'm tired, and that's how I roll. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment below on your thoughts on Avengers Endgame, and follow the channel, because you should just follow the channel, because if you're watching this, you want to follow us. We're great. Look at us. Look at us. I'm wearing a tie today. That's how much I care about this video. I'm wearing a tie. It's not for this video, it's for a funeral. But that's besides the point. Anyways, we just saw Avengers Endgame. Before I really get into that, I want to talk about Avengers Infinity War. You may have seen my review of Avengers Infinity War before, where I did not like that movie. I have not watched Avengers Infinity War until a couple days ago. This was, rewatched it, rather. And I rewatched it, and I gotta say, bit of a mixed reaction. There are a lot parts of it I liked a lot more than I originally saw, but again, still a lot of issues with that movie. I think it could use some really good editing, and it would have been a perfect movie. Just get rid of Tyrion, whatever his name is. Peter Dinklage did not need to be in that movie. That's besides the point.
Don't be a hater.
Don't be a hater. Whatever. He did not need to be in there. I'm not going to say anything else about Endgame at the moment, but in regards to Tyrion and etc. But as to Avengers Endgame, we just watched it. I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I thought the pacing was a lot better. Jay might think otherwise, but I think it was a lot better. I don't think it really needed a whole lot of editing. I think everybody had great hero moments. I think there was a lot of payoffs that I never would have seen coming otherwise. And I just thought it was a great end cap to all of the movies that have come before, including Infinity War, which is not something I was expecting. I thought it was going to kind of be its own thing. It was very much part two of Infinity War, but its own thing. And I get why they dropped the Infinity War Part 2 kind of naming convention that they were originally going for. I thought it was great. I highly recommend seeing it. I don't need to really tell you that, but compared to Infinity War, which I did not like, this movie is just amazing. Jay, what are your thoughts on the movie?
I really liked it. I don't think I would give it as glowing a review as you did, but I enjoyed it. I thought
Fair.
The pacing was a little slow in the beginning. I see why it was slow. There was a lot of story building they had to do before you get to the climactic arc, but I felt like they could have jumped into it a little quicker. We spent a lot of time on sort of very sentimental speeches by a lot of different actors. It seemed like everybody got their moment.
That's a good point.
But I understand why they did it. Like, a lot of it, there has to be some fan service. You're wrapping up, a 10-year adventure. But it could have been a little quicker, I thought. Other than that, I thought it was really good. Nice ending to the storyline that they've built up. Pretty much every loose end that you want them to tie off from the first one from Infinity War was, for the most part, brought to a close. In a way that you get some closure, some finality to the story. I thought it was good.
I think that's one of the great things about this movie is it goes back all the way through all of the movies, except for one exception, which we will talk about once we go into spoilers. And it references all of them, and it goes back and it says, hey, we're pulling from this, and there are throwbacks every other minute and callbacks. Like, you feel that this is one huge universe, really fully, for really, I would say, the first time. Like, I didn't really feel that as much in Infinity War, but in this one, absolutely. Kim, what were your thoughts on the movie?
I loved it. I think I was a little bit surprised by the beginning. I wasn't expecting what happened in the very beginning.
Now,
I'm
just
not
for a
gonna
second,
spoil
we're
it.
going to keep it spoiler free.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Excellent.
I'm not spoiling it. I was surprised by the beginning. There was, I agree, great hero moments, and there was really only one story for me that was not tied up. Everything else was tied up. It ended on a good note, and I loved it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear you say that there's one that...
There was one.
There's one that... I don't know.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. And so, before we get into spoilers, which we are about to do... Pardon me 1 second. Dixie! Stop walking around. Come sit.
Do you want to get her out of here?
No, just sit. Sit.
Just
Stay. Stay. Now, we are going to dive into spoilers, but general recommendations, you got to see this movie?
I would say see it.
Gotta
If
see
you've
this
seen
movie?
the other ones, see this
I mean,
one.
if you're a Marvel fan, you already bought tickets, probably. So you're going to see this.
If you're a pop culture fan, you've got tickets.
Yeah. I mean,
the kind of thing you don't want to miss out on.
if you haven't seen the other movies, you can't see this, really. You would be completely lost, right? You would miss everything.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
not as much of a standalone popcorn flick as most of the other movies have been. You're definitely going to want the backstory.
I mean, it's
like
the 23rd, 22nd movie in the entire series. I mean, I wouldn't say you have to see all of them, but it's definitely helpful.
you need to see the first one. If you don't see the first one,
The first event,
the beginning,
the Infinity War.
yeah, the
Yeah,
beginning
at least
of the movie,
Infinity War.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
beginning of the movie will not make sense.
Yeah, you have to see Infinity War. This is all intents and purposes. This is Infinity War Part 2, though they called it Endgame. But yes, I loved it. I did not love Infinity War. This took me back. This brought me right back in favor with the Russo brothers, who I think one of them actually cameoed in the movie. I'm not entirely certain, but I think it happened.
If one of them did, you'd figure both of them would.
The other one may have. He may have. It could have been him opposite the other person, but I'm not entirely certain. I'm not entirely certain. It could have just been a flash in the pan. It'll be something that people will pick up and will tell me that I'm wrong. So, any further thoughts before we kind of go over the plot, go into spoiler territory? Anything you guys want to
I
add?
think so.
No?
Excellent. So, if you would like to jump off now, we will be going into spoilers. That said, let's go. Let's talk spoilers.
Let's dive deep.
So the movie starts off right where Infinity War kind of left off. We see the snap from Hawkeye's perspective, when we see his entire family get dusted, which was just horrifying, and I could, completely emphasize that.
And that's the part that
Empathize.
kind of surprised me in the beginning. Like, why are we still going through this?
Well, because Hawkeye wasn't in Infinity War at all, so we had to
His
see
absence
kind of.
was fairly conspicuous.
Yes.
I mean, I
Infinity War.
understand that, but I just didn't feel that was needed. I just don't.
I
think
a lot of Hawkeye's storyline was a little weird.
it was
Yeah,
just...
and that I think we're gonna have to get into, because he was the least served, I felt, in this movie.
Yep. Well, I don't know about that. I feel like most of the movie was about him.
Well, I think there was a lot of him in there, but I think we'll talk about that in a second. So we have that. We get to the credits. We see where do we go immediately after that? We go to this is the thing that really surprised me, is the end credits tag from Captain Marvel wasn't actually in this movie. I thought that was a scene from this movie. If you remember, the end credit tag was there. They have the beeper that Nick Fury dropped in the end credit tag from Infinity War, and I thought this was going to be like a very beginning opening shot for this movie, but already we see immediately that she's part of the team. She becomes part of the team. So that's right. After we get the logo, we go to Tony Stark recording the message to Pepper Potts, and he's playing football with a Nebula, which I thought was a really cute scene.
Yeah, the paper football.
Yeah, and it actually ended up paying off when he flicked Ant-Man later on in the movie.
Oh, I didn't even notice that was a callback.
Yeah, he had like the expert flicking because he had been playing paper football for 20 days or something, because they didn't do anything else.
Until you mentioned it, I didn't even make that connection.
And then, I thought this was a really touching scene when Nebula picks up the sleeping Tony Stark, who is about to die. He says Pepper Potts, oxygen is about to run out in the morning. I bid you farewell, and leaves this touching little message. Nebula picks him up, puts him in the chair, just like...
That was a weird moment. I don't know why she put him in the chair. Like,
I
we
really
don't ever see
liked
where
it.
she went after she put him in the chair. It was an odd moment to me.
Yeah.
It was an odd moment, but it also showed, to me, a bit of sense of respect, because she put him in the captain's chair, right?
Yeah, no, I sort of understand it, where she's sort of saying, like, okay, you're dying, but you're in control, and, you know, I guess, but it just was a weird moment, because we never see what she does.
That's true.
I kept expecting her to, like, sacrifice herself to
I thought she was
give
going to
him more air.
do something.
Right, that's what I was
I
thinking.
did
She's
expect
about
that.
to jettison herself for something to
she
give
gave
him
him
more
the
air.
food.
She did give him the food.
Yeah.
That was very key. Even though once he gets back to Earth, and we'll talk about that for a second, he is super emaciated. I assume that was all CG. That was very good CG.
That was.
I mean, we've
There
seen...
was some pretty decent CG.
That
There was
technology has come
some CG that wasn't
scarily
great,
far.
like the Michael Douglas CG was
He was still a little
questionable.
off, yeah. It's the mouth.
It's always the mouth. Yeah.
So, our convenient Deus Ex Machina comes in the form of Captain Marvel, who grabs the ship, brings the whole ship back to Earth. She's there. Yay.
It says a lot about how fast she can go, that she got them back to Earth before they
She
ran
looks like
out
a
of
star.
air.
You think maybe, oh, he's dying. This is the light, whatever.
I thought it was going to be Pepper Potts in the rescue suit.
Could have been. But
That was all over
she
the
does
internet.
show up
People
later,
thought that- yeah.
which I thought was great payoff. So the team's back together. We have Tony in a wheelchair recovering. We got Captain Marvel. We got Captain America. Rhodey was there. ScarJo. Was there anybody else in that little area? Oh, Thor. Thor was there. No, Thor was not there yet.
Yes, Thor was there.
No, Hulk was there. Hulk was there.
No, Hulk didn't
No,
come
Hulk
until
wasn't
later.
there. Oh yeah,
Thor was
no,
there.
Thor was there.
Sitting on
Hulk
the
was there.
bench.
So yeah, so they're like, oh, we need.
That was before they.
Yeah,
messed
they're
him all
like,
up.
we'll get there. We need to go find Thanos. So they go, and they are like, oh, we saw him. You know, we got this massive surge of energy on Rocket's there. We got this massive surge of energy, and we haven't seen it anywhere else except 2 days ago. We saw it on this random planet out on the other side of the galaxy. Let's go there. So they go there.
So that was my first issue with pacing, right? Where they send them on, like, this mission to go kill Thanos. And you know, we're 20 minutes into the movie. You know it's not going to work out the way they think it's going to work out, but it feels like the movie...
I agree with you.
And they do this several times. The movie builds up to this
Yeah.
point where you're like, oh, it's like they almost want it to be an ending, but you know it's not going to end.
See, I actually really appreciated this moment because it felt like it was closing ties with the Infinity War movie and saying, look, we are dealing with Thanos right now. He is done. He is dead. Let's move on and solve this problem.
I don't know, I feel like-
obviously, further on in the movie, that gets completely wiped out.
I don't
But
know, I feel like there was other ways of doing that, but I mean, the way in which Thor killed Thanos was pretty cool.
Thor killing Thanos was amazing.
But
Just chopping his head, like he chops his hand off. They look at the gauntlet. The stones are all gone. Where are the stones? I use the stones to destroy the stones. I'm inevitable, or whatever he said.
But I
I
just
thought that
don't
was a
like
nice little villain speech.
But I agree with Jay. It's like, okay, well, you know that's not the end of him. Like, I don't love saying that in movies. It's like, oh, okay, so how's he coming back? Like,
Well, I could have. There's a couple characters I basically said that about throughout this movie. At least one,
I thought
probably
they
two.
did a pretty good job of tying everybody who needed to be there into the movie.
Yes,
At least.
but so Thor chops Thanos' head off. They realize they can't get the
I
stones.
think
The
it's the
stones are
one-liner, I
gone.
went for the head.
I went for the head. Nice, great callback. Our first real callback right back to Infinity War. If you remember, just before Thanos snaps his fingers, Thor hits him in the chest with the axe, and Thanos says, "You should have gone for the head," and snap. I just watched it the other day. That's why I'm able to recall it so readily. It was a very good callback. So they realize they have failed. Thor walks away, gets all blurry. Boom, fade to black. 5 years later. 5 years later,
which I also didn't love.
which brings it to now.
But I also
They're in
didn't
the present
love that. Really, they waited 5 years for this.
I mean,
I
what?
actually thought that was a decent, because then we got to see what 5 years of living in a world with half the people looks like. And it set up a lot of emotional moments for later, right? Because it establishes the loss as real to the people who are living it.
Okay, and the one god in the whole movie, they just...
Oh, she has a very big issue with this. So, we
like,
catch
he's
up.
a god. He's a god, and they have to make him fat and look like...
I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny, too.
I enjoyed Fat Thor.
Yep.
I did not enjoy Fat
So
Thor.
we catch up back to the present. We see Scarlett Johansson. She's kind of like... She looks like she's kind of in charge of the Avengers at the moment. We see holograms of Nebula and Rocket, and Captain Marvel's got the short hair. I'm sure a lot of people love that because that's a callback to the comics. She has short hair in the comic books now. And was there another... Oh, and Rhodey. And they're off doing missions, and Captain Marvel's like, I need to do this for the whole galaxy. You know, everybody is going
They
through
made
this.
that point a few times.
Yes, and Rocket keeps going back and forth with her. They have a nice little rivalry. I don't like Captain Marvel so much in this movie. I think she was a little underserved.
She's the Deus Ex, right?
She's just
all
not
right.
nice. But maybe that's colored by the interview with Brie Larson and Chris Hemsworth. Where Brie Larson just comes off as a complete bitch.
Yeah,
She comes off awful.
I have a distaste for her.
And I really like the
after
Captain
that.
Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But after that interview and with this one, she just I don't like her character.
I have no idea what interview you're talking. Well, I do. I recall some stuff I saw on Facebook about like Brie Larson.
I'm gonna insert the
being
clip
arrogant.
right here.
But okay, all right.
Yeah.
But I
So
haven't
you all
seen
know.
it. My understanding of the movie wasn't colored by that interview, and I didn't see really anything.
Did
wrong
you like
with
her?
Yeah, I thought she
Okay.
was fine.
Okay,
And
good.
I
So it's
really
colored by
think-
the interview.
Right? Yeah, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so they're all getting together. Cap has shaved off his beard because
Looks way better.
That's what happens.
He looks
when
a lot better. You
Captain
got
World dies.
to
that's
shave
me
off your beard.
personally.
He's in charge of a self-help group, helping people move on, which leads to that infamous line from the trailer, from I think the first teaser, which says everybody moves on except for us. You know, I'm paraphrasing. And then we get this great scene where we go to a self-storage on a dock somewhere, and we see Lang in this little cage area, the ugly brown van, as it was called in the movie, which I thought was great. There's a rat crawling in it, and it accidentally triggers the little mechanism, and boom! Out pops Scott Lang. He has this great little moment where he holds up the help sign. And who's the actor that was at the self-help stores that had the mustache? He's the guy from The Hangover, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, you think it was what is his name?
The doctor.
Yeah, it could have been him.
It looked like him. He didn't have any speaking lines, but I thought it was gonna be him. He had a mustache, so I wasn't entirely certain. But I thought it was that same actor.
My thought
didn't
was
say
that
anything.
it might have been the actor that was, and I don't know if that's true, but for a split second I thought it was the actor that was like the FBI agent that was in charge of him.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe he got busted down the security guard.
That would have been good too.
FBI
That would have been good.
But they didn't. I don't think it was.
No,
they would have had
they
some
didn't
kind
have
of specific
anything,
callback if that was supposed to be him.
So Scott Lang
You
comes
just didn't get
out
a good look
and
at his face. There was a mustache.
and he walks around. We kind of see the world through his eyes, where there's missing posters. All the streets look like they're out of The Last of Us. Civilization has worn down a bit. They had plenty of time to build this beautiful memorial for all the missing people. They named them all outside of San Francisco, which I was pretty impressed by. Being able to name 50% of the population who has
maybe
disappeared.
they only listed the people, from San Francisco in that
It's
monument.
possible.
It wouldn't have been everybody.
That's possible.
In
It
the
was
world.
still a very large monument.
It was.
Huge monument.
Yeah, I don't think that was everybody.
I mean, I figured everybody in the
I
United
find
States...
it hard to
maybe-
believe that Scott Lang is the only person with the last name
That's
Lang
true.
that died in the...
So probably just San Francisco people. That makes sense. So he's freaking out. He goes to see if Cassie's alive. Cassie is alive, and she's conveniently older now, 5 years older, which is also weird because to Scott, only 5 hours has passed. So he sort of freaks out. He goes to the Avengers. They're mourning and whatnot. This is, I think, when Cap and ScarJo are talking. We get that line again. And he's like, hey, let me in. And they're like, oh, is this old footage? Like, no, that's right now. It's the front gate. And so they let him in. He explains what happened to him. He comes up with this theory. Hey, we can go in the quantum realm and we can hop back in time. And they're like, well, how are we going to figure that one out? And someone's like, we have to navigate it, right? So we need a brain. So they go to Iron Man. Iron Man, I thought this was a really cool part where they catch up with Tony Stark. Tony Stark, last time we saw him, he's emaciated. He's in a wheelchair. He's not in a good way. Here, He's living on this beautiful house next to water, and he's got a daughter.
But it's such a weird...
Morgan.
It's a twist for him, too, though, because the house is all the whole interior is all wood.
Yeah.
Everything outside, it's like very rustic.
It's opposite of what we've ever seen for him.
It's like he's relaxed into this different mode.
And yet he still has this super touchpad computer.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, and he's married, and...
He's married to Pepper Potts. They have this beautiful kid, beautiful life. They show up, the Avengers show up, and they said, hey, we need your help figuring out this quantum tunneling, quantum time travel. And he's like...
tells him no.
He's like, no. Look at this awesomeness that I have. And he's like, you guys, go ahead. Don't mess this up for me. I'm happy. I have this. I'm, and it's great for him. And they're like, well, dang, we're going to have to find a different brain. So they go and find one and only Bruce Banner, the Hulk, who the last time we saw was having an existential crisis, which, again, was one of the issues I really had with Infinity War. It was that whole Hulk sub-story was just awful.
A little weird.
It was just weird. Like, Hulk, we got to have a talking. Long story short, he spent 18 months in a lab. He fried himself with some gamma rays, and now he's Smart Hulk. And I thought that was kind of neat. What did you guys think about it?
I wasn't sure about the characterization of Smart Hulk. And I get where they went with it. Like, he's just a little bit more brash, a little more confident. Like, I understood where
he's
it was
Mark
coming
Ruffalo
from,
as the Hulk now. He's just fully Mark Ruffalo
I really
Hulk.
had no issue with that.
Yeah.
I
like the opening scene where we're first introduced to him. He looks like they're in a diner, and the kids come up to him and say, "Oh, can we get a selfie?" And they take pictures, and he's like, "Oh, you want to take a picture with Ant-Man?" And they're like,
not
"No,
spoil everything."
Well, this is spoilers. We're in
We're in the
spoilers.
spoilers.
We can spoil everything. These people have already seen it.
Or they're specifically looking for spoilers.
Yes.
I know,
So.
but let's not spoil. Let's leave a little bit to the imagination.
No. That's not the point of spoiler talk. All right, so they go and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna try it. We'll figure it out." And Banner's like, "It's not really my expertise, but I'll see what I can do." We get this great scene then of them messing with time travel with Ant-Man. And they send him back, presumably, and they're like, "We'll see you in 10 seconds. He comes back, and he's like a teenager. They're like, "Oh, let me try that again." Send him back. Bring him back. The old man. Oh, send him back. Comes back. His baby. Send him back. Shut the power off. The Hulk hits it. Comes back, and he's wet himself, and he's not sure if it's the baby or the old man. I thought that was a really cool line. And then, woo, Tony Stark pulls up. Captain America's looking all dour, and it's like freaking out. And
Audi got some nice advertising.
Yeah, Audi. They always get the advertising with Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
It's a good callback again. And Tony's like, "Oh yeah, did he come back as a baby? Oh yeah, I figured that one out. Here you go. There's this convenient little time GPS thing." I'm like, okay, cool. So they have to figure out what they're going to do now, and they're like, "We got to go get the stones." And this part. Once we finally got to this part, I think it was my favorite part of the entire movie.
It was pretty
cool.
cool.
We had this whole time where they're like figuring out, it's like, "Oh, where do we go? How do we get this?" And then ScarJo has a great line is, "Guys, if we pick the right year, there are 3 stones in New York City." And they're like, "Oh, shoot. That's right." Which, again, is a little weird that they are all in New York City. The whole vast universe, 3 of them in New York City at one time. Wow, half of them in New York City. And so they go back. So we have them going back to New York City, specifically to 2012 when Avengers took place. We have Nebula, Rhodey, Black Widow, and Hawkeye going to, was it 2014 when Guardians of the Galaxy 1 took place. And yeah, those are the 2 teams that split off. So
and then
let's tackle the Avengers first. I thought it was great. We see the iconic tracking shot from the first Avengers.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Then the new Avengers drop in and they infiltrate, and we see the kind of aftermath of when Loki gives up and he goes, "I think I'll take that drink now."
Oh, and I'm sorry, we forgot Thor and Rocket go to Asgard.
Oh, that's right. So Hulk, yes. So they had to recruit Thor too before this whole time, and
that's when we find out.
So
he's
yes,
fat.
Hulk and Rocket go to recruit Thor for this whole venture, and we go to New Asgard. Which, where was that? Was that like Sweden or somewhere?
I think it was Iceland or something.
Iceland,
somewhere Nordic.
And we
or
catch up,
Germanic.
and Valkyrie's there. Korg?
Yeah.
Korg.
Meek.
Meek
Yeah.
is great there. And then Thor is basically Big Lebowski, and it is great. I loved it.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was great. He called it. He's like, I bet Thor's fat now. You called it right on the nose.
I did.
She immediately got pissed off.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
He had the full on
You
beard.
also got really upset when he lost his eye and when he cut his hair.
She has a thing for Thor and changing his look.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was great. Rocket convinces him to go on because there's beer on the stage. Oh, and they
give
get
them
Clint
props
too.
for
So
keeping him fat the whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
I really thought there was going to be a scene where he calls down the power of lightning and he does something crazy cool, and then the dust clears and he's skinny Thor again.
And all it did,
he was fat Thor the whole movie. They really stuck to their guns.
I did like when he called down the thunder. He got the
beard,
little braid,
his
little
beard
braided beard.
Got bearded.
Yeah. But we also saw Black Widow go to Tokyo to get Hawkeye, who
has just been murdering people.
He's been murdering people for 5 years.
And we never talk about it again for 45 minutes.
Well, I mean, they were bad people.
Okay, but we hear Rhodey say, "Oh, I don't know. After all the things he's done, I don't know if I want him back." We're left to think he's done these horrible, horrible things, and then for 45 minutes we don't talk about it again. They're just like, "Hey, welcome back to the team, man. Don't worry about all those people you murdered. It's cool."
And jumping to the ending for a bit, how do you go back to your family after you just spent 5 years just murdering people?
You just never tell your wife. You're just like, "Hey, there's just things we don't talk about." What'd you do in the 5 years that we were gone? Oh, don't worry about it. I just murdered a lot of people.
I just hung out. I chopped some wood. It was really fun.
What? No. Well, anyway, so they
go back to the past, and we get these great scenes where they're interacting. Cap basically recreates the elevator scene from Winter Soldier. Same people there, but he leans over and he goes, "Hail Hydra!" Great payoff moment. I loved that.
Cool.
And he walks out with the spear, and they're all like, "Whoa, Cap's one of us!" Thought that was great. We get Tony kind of following himself, and Ant-Man diving in. He gives past Tony this little kind of heart attack. He short circuits his thing. Thor fixes it by hitting him in the chest. I thought that was great. Loki disappears with the Tesseract of that version. That plan goes completely haywire because Hulk has to take the stairs, and that was a great little bit where Hulk's just like, "Oh, so many stairs."
No, see, I have some problems with this whole area. So he's supposed to be Smart Hulk.
No, this was past Hulk, so this is
past
dumb Hulk.
Hulk is taking the stairs.
Okay.
Past Hulk is taking the stairs.
Okay, well, that clears up that issue.
And it kind of illustrates how, because in the last Thor Ragnarok, we see Hulk talk about how he hated the rest of the Avengers because they were never nice to him. Mm-hmm. But we don't get to see any of that in the movies because we don't see the between scenes. This was sort of a nice callback to that, where he tries to get on the elevator with the rest of the Avengers, and they're like, we're at capacity, big guy. You got to take the stairs. Which, by the way, whoever has the balls to tell the 4,000-pound green monster he's got to take the stairs, good for you.
I would have just jumped out the building.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, is why didn't he just jump down the stairs? We see in the original movie that he can jump up skyscrapers and fall 150 feet, and it doesn't matter. So why didn't he just jump down the middle of the stairs?
Yeah, I kept waiting for that moment.
Well, so the problem I have with this whole thing is this is the last time we see, really, other than back in Asgard, Loki.
Yes.
And
who knows where Loki is. Loki does have a green-lit show on the new Disney Plus service.
But they didn't tie his story up
They
at
did
all.
not tie his story.
But
Is that the one that you're
required
referencing?
to?
That's the one I'm referencing.
There was a line where they say that we can't change. So I think Bruce Banner is the one that explains it. He says you can't change the past because when you go into the past, you're still in the past in your present.
The past is, or the present is now your past, and the past is now your present.
It's possible that Loki did survive, but it doesn't matter because that's not the same Loki from the dimension that we're worried about.
Understood, but it was the only
like different
one
timeline
they didn't
Loki.
wrap up. Everybody else they wrapped up.
No, not really. I mean, they didn't we find out they take Thor takes his hammer back from what would have been that timeline's Thor. We never find out what happens because we're led to believe it doesn't matter. Is if they fix what's wrong with their present, it's never going to matter what happened
But
in
the
these
hammer
other
comes
splinter
with-
universes.
If he calls it, it comes.
No, he can't call it through time. He was only able to get it because in the time he was in,
It still
existed.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's when you get with time, it's timey-wimey
They actually
bullshit.
did a
But-
really good job keeping the whole time travel thing really vague so that we can have discussions like this
True.
and
But
not have to
then-
worry about, like, you know.
Loved the fight scene between Captain and Captain.
Captain versus Captain was great, and
That
it
was pretty cool.
had the nice little payoff where the Tony Stark saw Cap and he was like, that outfit doesn't do anything for your butt. And he's like, that's what do you say? That's America's ass,
Ant-Man
right?
said that's America's
Yeah.
ass. Yeah.
And then Cap beats his old self up, pulls the little Loki scepter thing on him, knocks him out, and he just checks out his own butt. And I was like, yeah, that's America's ass, all right. I thought it was great. Good.
It was pretty funny. There were some
fantastic.
really great one-liners.
Absolutely.
In this
Yeah, and a lot of cameos. So
one.
many cameos.
You figure there have to be,
I mean,
right?
I mean, great, supposedly last Stan Lee
I was
cameo.
surprised they even got Natalie Portman.
I don't think that was new footage. I think that was she didn't have
That's
any
true.
new
It could have
lines.
been. It could have been some kind of.
I think they took
It
some.
could have been extra.
some
footage.
B-roll footage
Yes.
from Thor: Dark World. I'm sure they got a bunch of it on the cutting room floor.
So while they're at the Avengers Tower, current Hulk is going over to the Sorcerer Supreme lair. I forgot the name of Doctor Strange's lair.
Oh man, what's it? The Sanctum Sanctorum.
Sanctum Sanctorum, talking to Tilda Swinton, who apparently knows exactly what's happening. It's like, oh, you're about 5 years too early. Doctor Strange is right over there doing surgery. Which I
Because
thought,
he mentions he's looking for Strange.
yeah. But I like that she has a glimpse of time. She understands
Well, she's got the
everything.
time
She got the
zone
time
around
zone.
her
I thought
neck,
that
right?
was great.
Yeah.
She ends up giving it to Banner because
I
he
have a problem with
mentions
that, though.
Why?
he mentions that Doctor Strange gives up the time stone willingly, and she said, "Well, why would he do that?"
So why doesn't she know that? If she is the time thing, and if she
No,
knows
but she
time-
doesn't know what's happening in the future. She is ready to believe that he's from another time because she's aware that time travel is possible, but she hasn't seen the future. And she even is the one to make the point that her future is not Bruce Banner's future because they're from two separate timelines at this
If
point.
he took the stone away,
Right.
it would be two separate timelines. Yes.
I think it was a cool little throwback because it showed you, because we establish in Doctor Strange's movie that Tilda Swinton's been the Sorcerer Supreme for years and years and years. So you wonder, well, where was she when everything was going to hell?
So we pick up there. Everybody's in the past going forth. Hulk gets his stone. Cap gets his stone. Iron Man and Ant-Man fail to get there. So they're like, well, where's the Tesseract? So Lee says, good thing and they're running out of pin particles, too.
Yes.
So they're like, we need the pin particles to travel back and forth through time, but we only have enough for one round trip for everybody. So then they're like, well, I think I know where we can get both of them. And they're like, oh, when? And it's like, I don't know, probably at this point. And this is kind of vague. And it turns out they're going back to 1970. They're going back to the compound that we saw again, I think, in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it was the underground bunker where
Where
the doctors
Arnim Zola
and the
was.
computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so they're down there. Cap sees Peggy, which I thought was great. I don't know how she did not notice him through the shades. Kept waiting for her to like glance up and be like, "Oh,
I mean, she was
She's
busy.
busy, yeah.
she's busy." But
I
you
mean,
don't
running
see
the
a
world.
guy
Yeah.
a foot from you staring at you through a window.
I don't know. You don't know.
It's
Okay.
a military installation.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
it
there's
could've
people
been-
in and out
All
of
right.
Or
there.
it could have
So-
been like there's one way or two way, like, you know what I mean?
And
I don't know whose office windows are made
and
of
then
two-way glass.
Tony meets
A
Howard
military
after he
bunker.
grabs
Maybe.
his stuff. He meets his father, which I thought was
There
kind
was
of
a
neat.
couple of cool things there. I enjoyed him talking to his father and Thor talking to his mother.
Yeah.
Because it sort of goes into like, you know, if any of us could travel back in time, isn't that what we would do? Is we would, like, it sort of sets up that, like, you know, you could stay here
Yeah.
and you could fix all the things that you ever wanted to fix
Yeah.
with your dead father, you know, but you have things to do. Like, it just sort of sets up that tension. It humanizes him a lot. Saying,
I do find it interesting that Thor spoke with his mother. It was they did reference that was the day that she died.
Well, he got closure with his father, right?
Yes, yeah, because he
He had the whole big speech. They were
moment.
sitting on the cliffs, and he's like, "I'm
But he
proud
never had
of
that
both
with his
of you."
mother.
Right.
It was very nice. They gave the hug. She immediately knew that he was not from this time.
I love that she told him to eat a salad.
That was great. Yes, That
She
that
should've
was
said,
good.
"Get a
Rocket
haircut
Rocket
and
was
shave."
good. The way Rocket came up behind Natalie Portman, we see him like stalking her, like Psycho style. So they gather all the stones up. We get a touching scene over where in Red Skullville, where Natalie and Hawkeye Vormir, where they're they get the same thing that Thanos had in the last things, where soul for a soul. I thought maybe it was just you have to give up the thing you love. I thought maybe Hawkeye would throw a sword and it would work. I was like, oh, maybe they'll play goofy with this. No,
I don't think he loved the sword. Like, we don't even really get any. That's one of the other things I didn't like about the Hawkeye thing. We don't get any exposition on how he became a samurai sword wielding ninja stalker on the streets of Japan.
It's true.
They're just like, oh, Hawkeye has a sword now, and also he has arrows that he won't use until the very end of the movie.
But for me, I knew she was going.
Yeah, I called that. Yeah, I knew that too.
Not for 1 second did I think it was going to be him.
I thought it might be him because she has another movie. I leaned over to him. I was like, didn't her movie just get greenlit? Like, literally a month or two ago?
They played him up way too much.
But it could also be... it wouldn't have been a payoff if he died, because he wasn't in the last movie. He hasn't been around a lot, so it would have been like, oh,
true.
You came back for 5 minutes to die? Okay, bye. Whereas with her, it's like, oh, crap, they just killed Black Widow.
Yeah.
And this is going back to what I said earlier. It's like, how is she going to come back? Is she going to come back?
We'll see.
I think, they established it pretty well that she's not coming back.
Yeah, they did.
And it seemed like the time copy of Gamora.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, either she's missing in action, or she, disappeared when they did the snap and the rest of the army disappeared. I don't know. But you see in the very end,
right,
we
he
see
was searching
Quill
for her.
looking for her, and all it says is searching. So I don't know if maybe that'll be what the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie is they're looking for, what's her name?
It's interesting. I did see them searching, but I never...
Yeah,
I never put.
I didn't pick up that she was missing. That she wasn't there at all.
Yeah, I didn't.
We never see her again.
That's
so
right.
She must have disappeared.
So
she
maybe
probably went into dust.
Yeah.
That's what I wondered, because she's from that other timeline.
Yeah.
Was Future Nebula was there though, at the end?
Yeah,
yes, because she belongs there.
She belongs there.
Okay, so maybe that will be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, trying to figure out how to get her back. Maybe they'll bring back Black Widow at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, if it'll be something with the Soul Stone. Or,
so where were we? So they get all the stones together. They make an Iron Man little Infinity Gauntlet, which I thought was a nice little touch.
I thought it was cool they put the gauntlet on the right hand, because they sort of I think I'm using this correctly, they MacGuffined the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
For literally years. There have been multiple, I'm sure you're all on YouTube right now, you can look it up, multiple YouTube videos of all kinds of different people saying, I think we all need to pay attention to how Marvel's been building with Iron Man's left arm. Always his left arm, there's some kind of issue. Yeah, if you go back, he's always got something, he takes a bunch of damage to his left arm.
Oh.
He's holding this, when he picks up the suitcase with the Infinity Stones with his left arm, and he hits the chair, there's all
maybe
kinds
it's just
of
left-handed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's but there's all kinds of foreshadowing. He constantly
or
getting his
maybe
left arm
Robert Downey
injured.
Jr. has an issue with the right.
I don't know, but I'm just saying there's a lot of fan theories out there that he's going to wear that Iron Man was going to wear the gauntlet in his left hand, and that's what they were building up to. But then they did it on the right hand.
But they got the stones, and then they decide it's going to be Hulk.
Yeah, so there's a lot of back and forth. Thor's like, I should do it.
One of the things that bothered me about it, by the way, because the reasoning was, well, it's mostly gamma radiation anyway. When did we establish that? Was there ever a scene where they're like, most of these stones are emitting gamma radiation?
Smart Hulk, so he knows this.
He might have just been completely BSing that.
Yeah, maybe.
And he was just like, hey, this will make you feel better. It's probably gamma radiation, right?
Yeah.
So then he puts it on. Immediately, power surge up his arm. His arm starts breaking and cracking and just I thought he was going to transform into maybe Red Hulk.
That's how much more powerful Thanos is than the rest of them, because he doesn't do that when he wears the.
Not necessarily. It could have just been the gauntlet.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is the gauntlet just less good than the special
I thought
star
it was more
weapon
a size
gauntlet
thing. Truly.
What?
I thought it was more like a size thing. They're both equal size.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily equate to power.
Right, I meant the way that the energy's crackling up Thor's arm and everything. It doesn't do that. Even when Thanos puts on the Iron Man gauntlet, the energy doesn't course up his. I don't think it does. Does it?
It does.
Maybe it does.
It does. Not to the extent, I don't think. But again, he also took that Power Stone out at one point to punch Captain Marvel, and he was just wielding it. He was straight up wielding it. That was a great scene. So they get it all together, and Hulk snaps his finger, and they're like, well, "Did it happen?"
And then the phone rings.
And then Clint's phone rings, and it's his wife, and Scott's looking outside, and it's like, "Oh, the birds! Oh, look, I think it worked, guys." And then, meanwhile, that whole time, Nebula and Rhodey went to back to Guardians 1, which I really liked that we got an alternate perspective on the opening credits for Guardians 1.
That was cool.
And you just hear Chris Pratt singing, and it's like...
Because he's wearing headphones the whole time.
They're like, so he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And then, so Nebula has some sort of weird thing where her frequency is interfering with her past self. So Thanos finds out that this is happening and is like, oh... And so Nebula finds out that they know, and she becomes a prisoner. And then past Nebula sneaks in and steals her place. So she comes back to the present, opens up the time vortex, so Thanos comes to the present, to the 5 years later. Brings his whole ship in, zooms down, boom, bombards it, destroys the entire Avengers complex. Everybody's kind of going to crap. People are about to drown. People are just getting all sorts of messed up. We see Thanos walk out, and he comes in, and he tells Nebula, "Get me the stones," afterwards. And she says, "What are you going to do?" And he says, "I'm going to wait." And he takes his helmet off, he stabs his thing into the ground, puts his helmet off,
weird double-bladed sword
sits
thing.
down, and just waits.
My favorite moment of the whole
We're not there yet. We're there.
We're there.
So Hawkeye gets the gauntlet. He's down below. He's trying to run from the little dog-like creatures that we saw a lot of in Infinity War.
The Thanos soldiers.
Yeah, the Thanos soldiers. He's running. He gets it out of there. Hulk and Rocket and I think it's Rhodey down there. They're kind of drowning.
Yeah.
Ant-Man runs and he saves them. It's a cool little hero moment for him. We see him eventually pops and he's huge. And before we get there, though, we get the great scene of the big three: Thor,
Cap, Iron Man,
and Iron Man. And they are like, Thor says the line, "Let's kill him properly this time." And he thunders up. And, and he got the hammer. He got the hammer from Past Self, which we reference in Asgard. And so he's got the hammer, and he's got the axe, and he's walking, and Cap's got his new shield that Iron Man made, and Iron Man's got his little suit.
No, it's the old shield that Iron Man repaired.
I thought he made a new one for him.
Maybe. I thought he just repaired the old one, but maybe. Because he said he made it for you, so I think they were referencing
maybe.
the old
Okay.
one.
So
it doesn't really matter.
But however they got
it. Either way, it's got, he's got the shield.
They're fully badass. They go to confront him, and we get this nice fight scene, great fight scene, where they're just pounding each other, and first Iron Man goes down, and Friday, his little AI, is like, "Wake up, boss," and then Thor goes down, and then, so Thor's getting beaten, right? And then we
Thor's
see
gonna die.
Thor's about to die because Thanos is like pushing the axe into him. So he had dropped Mjolnir, and you see it get picked up, and then you see him get hit in the back, and it summons back, and it's Captain America wielding the hammer. That was such a great moment.
That was pretty cool.
And the way he just hands Thanos his ass for 30 seconds or a minute or so, flawless. I loved that scene.
They really did a great job with Captain.
Just showed how worthy he was. We get that great one line from Thor. What did he say? I knew it. Yeah, because we got that call back from Age of Ultron.
That 1 second in Age of Ultron where it looks like Cap's going to be able to pick up the hammer.
So it seems 3 people are worthy. We got Vision, absent from this movie. It's worth noting.
Well, because he died.
He's dead. He didn't come back. He's gone. Vision.
Although we did get a nice cameo for Jarvis.
That was, yes. I like seeing Jarvis. Same actor as from the Agent Carter series, which I thought of James Darcy, I believe. And, so it's Cap, Thor, and Vision are worthy of wielding the hammer. And then beat the crap out of each other. And then
everybody comes in.
Thanos just wrecks Cap eventually, breaks his shield in half.
I really thought Cap was going to die there. The rest of that movie, I was wondering, how much blood does Cap have?
Yeah.
Because we're shown that because Thanos has this huge sword thing.
His arm
cuts,
is injured,
like,
his
every
leg
vein
is
in his
injured.
body.
He like ties up the shield to hold up the wound, and I thought he was going to say I can do this all day, which he had already said. Pascal had said him, and Cap
I think
gives
that's
a
why
great.
he didn't say. He's like, I get it.
Oh, and I thought that was good.
Yeah.
And then we get the Cap come in, and Cap's like, what is that? And he comes in, and it's Sam Falcon, and he goes, on your left. And boom, hero shot. Friggin' the entire universe of heroes come in. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Drax, a whole Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther walks in, cheers, friggin' everybody going nuts. The whole world's coming in to confront Thanos and his army that is descending from his ship. And Thanos is looking around, like, oh, I don't know about this one. And Cap's just like, yeah.
And now I got my whole posse.
Oh, that was impressive. That was an impressive scene. And you get this amazing kind of very comic book-like battle scene where you see the two armies just rushing at each other. And I looked at Jay and I said, imagine if they just ended the movie right there on like a still frame. Just like...
Avengers Part 3 next summer.
Just ended it right there. But no, we get this great battle and we get this tracking shot to end all tracking shots. As we go through the entire battle, we see all of the key characters
all the big
doing
people
everything.
there.
Puts the original Avengers tracking shot to shame. Just shows how much time has gone by and how far we've come. What a shot. What a beautiful shot. Just seeing everybody just whoop ass.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And Spider-Man has a couple great moments. They're playing keep away with the gauntlet, and the water's coming in, and Doctor Strange is holding that back. Valkyrie's coming in there. Everybody's coming. We see Gwyneth Paltrow comes in as, I guess, rescue. It could be rescue, or it's just her in Iron Man armor. She comes in,
which is a callback to earlier in the film when he's like secretly working on Iron Man armor for Pepper Potts, and he tells his daughter to keep it a secret. Yep. Nice moment there.
Everybody's there, and there's a whole lot going on. We see Ant-Man punch one of the monsters from the Avengers, that like flying worm-like thing. That
and
was
he steps on the big guy from...
on the big guy, yes.
Yeah,
that's right. One of the sons of
I never remember
the
what
children.
That guy's name is,
the children of...
The huge guy with the weird, like, chain hammer thing.
Yes. Yeah, and...
You know the only part I didn't really like, though?
What part?
What? Of this scene?
Thanos.
Uh-huh.
When they defeat him. Or when...
We haven't gotten there yet.
What about him?
Well, they didn't kill him.
What? The snap killed him.
I know. I wanted to see, like, another...
So anyway...
No, I thought that was better.
I thought this was great. So...
Really?
So all this stuff's going down, and Captain Marvel finally comes... Or, no. So, the... Scarlet Witch comes in and she starts handing Thanos his ass.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
And he's like,
and he goes, I don't know you, and she goes, you will.
And then he's like, rain fire, and he's like, I think it was the Maw. Was like, but our troops, and they're like, I don't care, do it. And so, boom, the ship starts destroying everything. Everything's Spider-Man's there. He's like curled up in a little ball, and then all of a sudden the ship starts shooting at something in the sky, and, and they're like, what is that? And Friday tells Tony, oh, something else has just entered the atmosphere. It's Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel comes in and boom, blows up the ship.
Which
just a couple of little pounds.
That moment is foreshadowed in the Captain Marvel movie, where we see her do the same thing to like 3 or 4 of the Kree cruisers.
Yeah, and then she comes in and confronts Thanos after trying to get the gauntlet to Scott, who is meanwhile trying to get it as far away from Thanos as possible. He's actually trying to bring the stones back to the past, right in the midst of the battlefield. Remember, he goes to his ugly van. You hear the horn beep. Great little section. And then we get... I liked
the one where they had all the women. We're like, we got this.
Yes. Yeah, oh, that was right then, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when they're trying to... That's right, they're trying to pave the way to the van or whatever.
I find such moments almost borderline gratuitous.
Absolutely. It was definitely... I was thinking that it was gratuitous, but it was gratuitous in exactly the right way. The thought I had was Marvel just secured themselves a whole generation of female fans.
Absolutely.
Because we were in this theater, it was the 6:30 premiere showing, and 90% of the women in that theater were cheering at that moment, because it was just every female character just showed up all at once and was like, yeah, let the women handle this for once.
It was a lot of teeny boppers, though.
Oh, and the teeny boppers were friggin' out. They were
But
they
you
were
have to
cheering
have those
and
moments.
crying. We see that Thanos throws the his sword thing at the van. Van blows up. Everybody goes boom. And
very aerodynamic for a double-bladed sword.
Oh yes, absolutely. And Tony looks at Doctor Strange as Thanos is he's picking the glove up, right?
Yeah.
And Tony looks at Doctor Strange, and you see the slow curl of the finger, and he shows it the
one moment.
The one, and it's just focused on that, and Tony jumps up and kind of pounces on Thanos, and you see him, and then Thanos like throws him aside, and he goes, "I am inevitable," and he snaps his fingers, and nothing happens. Not a single thing happens. And he pans over. You look over, and Tony Stark has all of the stones on him in his hand. I don't know how he did a little slip of the finger there. I don't really know how he pulled that off.
Little switcheroo.
But he did, and you see the power start searching. Is that what he did?
I think he just put the glove on and left his glove.
How do you take that one glove off and put the other one on? I thought he picked off the stones somehow and did that.
I guess it's
somehow.
Possible either way.
Hollywood magic. So he gets the stones, and we got a great. Probably, I think, the greatest callback in the entire movie where he says, where Thanos goes, "I am inevitable," and you pan over and Tony Stark has the stones. He goes, "I am Iron Man," and he snaps his fingers, and we just see Thanos' whole army just start to dust, and everybody's just dissolving. We see the children of Thanos dust, the big monsters dust, all the soldiers dusting, and Thanos, we see him. He sits down to rest, and he's just looking, and he's
just
tired, and he's
like,
I lost. And then you see him start to dust, and wow, what an applause did we have at that moment. But you realize the cost at which it was, and you go back to Tony, and he is not well.
Oh, it's bad.
He is messed
up. The whole right side of his body is just cooked off.
It's
pretty gruesome.
It's a Two-Face moment, and you see his eyes are all bloody and bloodshot, and we get this great emotional gut wrench of a scene where Peter goes up to Tony. When Peter, we had a great moment a few minutes earlier where Peter comes up and is like, "Mr. Stark, we were on this alien planet and we got dusted, and then we woke up and it was 5 years later and we had to come here," and Tony just hugs him. And Peter's like, "This feels nice." And it was such a great payoff from the moment in the car, which apparently was an ad-lib moment, I believe, from Spider-Man, where he's like, "No, we weren't hugging." And he just hugs him, and it's so great. And and Peter's like, "We won." And Tony's not responding. Gwyneth Paltrow comes over, Pepper Potts, and says,
she just knows he's dying.
She says Friday, and Friday says life signs critical, and Pepper says to Tony, we're safe, we're good, you can rest now, and
it just goes.
Tony dies.
People were straight up sobbing in that movie theater.
I was crying.
Funeral tears.
I'm like getting a little misty eyed.
Everybody's a little misty. There were people in that theater literally crying.
It was a great hero moment for it. Perfect way for him to go out. Such a redeeming moment. Just like we knew it was
going to happen because
from the first Avengers movie, it was like building up from it.
And also he's to break the fourth wall a little. I think Robert Downey Jr. has made it clear that he was getting a little tired of being Iron Man. And
But we also
they gave him a lot of range in this movie. Oh, yeah. Like he's sort of for a lot of the first few, and he was very good as Iron Man. But it seemed like they really had him in this sort of like dickhead. Oh, sorry, jerk, playboy, alcoholic sort of thing. Like really played that up. We got the whole range from Robert Downey Jr. this time. There was emotional stuff. There was funny stuff. There was
Oh, he was just incredible.
It was good.
It was so good, and he rests and he goes down, and I believe we get a bit of it cuts away from the battlefield. Do we get anything more at the battlefield at this point? Or is that's pretty much the end, right?
We have a few, and was I saying this to you the other day? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I knew that this was going to happen. It was very similar to if you saw Return of the King, like the last Lord of the Rings movie,
where there's like
15 different endings, right? And you knew it was going to happen. They had to do it that way because there's so many storylines they have to wrap up. There's like 3 or 4 different points where you're like, is this the end? Is this it? Are they cutting to the credits? What's next?
This one I didn't feel it was as gratuitous.
No,
as
it wasn't.
That
It
one.
wasn't
It
quite
was,
as bad because they didn't like cut to black quite
we
as many
needed
times.
the bit of an exposition. We needed some
Yeah.
kind
Oh,
sort
you
of
had to
outro,
wrap it
right?
up. You
Because
had to wrap
this
it up.
is very much a stamp on the past 22 movies. This is an ending. You could see this as a definitive ending to the Marvel universe. If they stopped here, I would have been happy.
No, this is where they kind of transition to Captain now has to.
Well, we get the funeral first. We get Tony Stark's little funeral service. They lay down.
They float the wreath out into the lake
with the proof that Tony Stark
Mm-hmm.
has a heart. Call back again, right back to the original Iron Man movie.
And his little daughter's talking to Happy, and she's like, "I want a cheeseburger." And he's like, "Your dad liked cheeseburgers."
I thought that was great. Seeing Happy there, Jon Favreau, director of Iron Man and Iron Man 2, part of one of the architects of the entire Marvel Universe, coming in and, having his nice little touching cameo, really. And then we see everybody at the funeral. Michelle Pfeiffer's there. Michael Douglas is there.
We didn't know who they were.
There was
that guy?
who was the kid at the end?
I thought that was Peter Parker.
No, I thought Peter Parker was up at the front.
Yeah.
Was he? Yeah.
So
okay.
I was like,
don't
who's
know.
this guy?
I
I have
don't know who the
no
young guy
idea
is.
who that guy is. I have to watch it again to actually figure it out. If you know, please let me know in the comments. We get that nice little thing, and then Nick Fury shows up, and he's back there, and he says something to Captain Marvel, I think, or did he even have a line?
No,
he
he
might not
didn't
even
know
have
he
had
had
a line.
No.
Yeah, and we never did find out if the woman in the bunker was Nick Fury's mother. You kind of floated
Oh
that
yeah,
theory.
I thought
to me.
it might be, but we
Makes
never,
sense. I mean,
maybe she's wearing a badge or something. I don't know that, but
Yeah,
maybe it's just it could have just been a nothing.
Was
but
she the actress from The Talking Dead? Is she the one that's
No.
always on the? She looked familiar to
She
me, and I
was
couldn't place her.
Shirley from Community. Did you watch Community?
Oh,
It is,
wait,
yeah.
that
No, it is.
Shirley.
That was
Yeah.
Yvette Nicole Brown.
I guess.
I thought
That's her name.
this was that who that was. I
That was
thought
definitely her.
so. Anyways, may not have been. So we get a nice little touching funeral scene, and then we cut to Cap, and there's Cap's getting ready to bring all of the time stones, all of the Infinity Stones back to where they belong, so to kind of reset the timeline. And Bucky's like, I'm gonna miss you, and Cap's like,
Well, he knew.
but yeah,
No, Bucky.
yeah, Bucky knew. Everybody else is like, we'll see you back here, and I think it was was it Rhodey who? No, it was Sam who asked, how long is this going to take? And he's like, for him, as long as it takes. For us, 5 seconds. And so Cap goes back and he picks up Thor's hammer. And he takes Thor's hammer. So I don't know. We don't know where Thor's hammer is at the moment.
I assume because his whole
'cause he
mission
had
was
to
to put everything back the way it was.
He put Thor's hammer
He must
back.
have put Thor's hammer back when he returned the.
Makes sense.
One of the stones.
That makes sense. So he brought Thor's hammer back. He put the stones back. And 5 seconds go by. They go to bring him back. Nothing. Doesn't show up. Nothing shows up. And Bruce is like, I don't know what happened.
Jumped past his
Meanwhile,
timestamp.
I forgot to mention Hulk's arm is in like a sleeve. Is in like a cast.
Because of the snap, it burned up his arm.
He's got like a Scary Movie 2 strong hand kind of situation kind of going on now. Who knows where that plot line will go. But Bucky looks over and says, Sam, look over there. And you just see this person sitting on a bench over by the water. And Sam and Bucky kind of go closer, and Bucky tells Sam, go over there. And you come around, and it's Cap. And he's 90 some odd years old. He's an old man. Looking great. Great makeup on him.
You have no idea how old he is.
No, I have no idea how old he is, but he looked great. I mean,
old.
like that was good makeup. Like usually you can see like there was a couple moments I was like, is that even Chris Evans? It was definitely Chris Evans, but you find out he went back in the past and he just stayed there. He said, I wanted to try the life that Tony Stark was suggesting, and then
we cut to him dancing with.
Well, not yet. We get the passing of the shield.
Oh, of course, yeah. It goes to
Falcon, which is exactly what happened in the comic books. We had old Cap,
was it Bucky?
and we had Bucky and Falcon were both Cap at one point. So they could both be Cap at some point.
I look forward to the Falcon being captain.
I think he's gonna be great.
I said to Warren, I can't wait to watch racist Twitter
Oh,
explode.
it's gonna happen.
Great.
Oh, it's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be horrible. My Captain America's not black. Shut up. We had it.
Hashtag Black in America.
Oh, nice. Did you come up with that?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. That was pretty good. And then we flash back. Well, we see Cap is wearing the ring, and Sam asks him, "You can tell me about her?" And Cap's like, "No,
No,
I don't think I will." And you cut back and you see this nice little house, and you zoom in and you see Cap and Haley Atwell,
Carter, yeah.
Peggy Carter having their dance, the dance that they wanted right back from the first Avenger, and the
she's
kiss,
Peggy Rogers now.
and the kiss, and I loved that.
That was good. It was a nice little
I
callback.
was like, this is perfect. And was there anything after that, or was that the end? Was there anything after that?
I don't recall anything after that.
Oh, we see Peter go to his school.
Oh yeah, and he meets Ned.
He meets up with Ned.
That was a question we had: is some of those kids that they knew would have survived the snap? So there's people that they went to school with who are now 5 years older than them.
So there are a lot of repercussions that come out of this movie. So we have wherever Gamora is, ScarJo's dead, Iron Man's dead. Half the world has lived 5 years longer than the other half of the world.
Half the world remembers turning to dust before coming, because they established that they remember turning to dust.
Just horrible. Like, Spider-Man comes out in a couple months. What's going to happen there? Is it going to be based in this current present-day timeline? They're still kids, but some of them may be older. Maybe is Flash Thompson older now? Is MJ older now? Who is older? There's a lot of questions coming out of this movie, which I thought was very interesting. There's a lot of dynamics. I was saying to Jay, I was like, for the people that were dusted, no time has really passed.
Right.
And for everybody else, it's 5 years. So 5 years is a long time. People have probably moved on. But the other people, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama that could come out of this. And I look forward to seeing what happens there.
I wonder how much they'll really concentrate on that, because I think they're kind of trying to draw a line and move into a new era. I mean, I'm sure there will be callbacks.
It's gonna have to
but
pick
how
up.
much...
I mean, it's like the event. What they refer back to New York.
Yeah. And that's what I'm sure
Avengers
there will be
was
callbacks
the
to it,
fifth
but...
movie, and they have built from that for 18 cents. So I think they will call back from it.
The Netflix series were all referenced Avengers.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's anything we're missing.
We'll see what happens.
We saw Red Skull again. I was kind of hoping there would be some sort of Cap Red Skull going on.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Just anything there. There were no unnecessary cameos in here, which I thought was great. We got just a lot of fan service, a lot of cameos going back to the entire series, a lot of callbacks to all the movies. I thought it was a great movie.
And no end credit.
No end credits, unless the guy lied to us, and we were sitting there for a while. We didn't see anything.
One of the employees from the theater had to, because there's so many people waiting to see if there's an end credit. One of the employees from the theater had to come in and yell, "There are no end credits!" Essentially, because they wanted us all to get out of the theater so they could clean it for the next showing.
If he was lying, I have a particular set of skills, and I will find you.
Video editing isn't going to help you.
No.
Well, whatever. I can edit that, and I'll have fun with that. I'll zoom in.
No, I mean, if that's your particular set of skills, it's not going to help.
Well, I can edit so many things. I will edit him. I don't know. Anything else on Endgame?
Anything else on Endgame? Yeah, everybody should definitely see it.
I look forward to where we go from here. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what storylines because they're doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I would imagine, because we see there's a little callback we see to Peter Quill. Like in I never remember what it's called. The name of the Benatar is the name of the
new one.
Avengers spaceship. We see him in the Benatar, and he's like looking at he's trying to find Gamora because we never see her turn to dust because she comes back from the past.
It just says searching
because she was killed with the stone earlier. So and it just says searching in red, and then he sort of pages past it. So I would imagine Guardians 3, they're going to focus on that.
And it seems that Thor is going off with them.
Yeah, but I don't know how much he'll stick around with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's just like, Thor might be anywhere. They could pick him up, because they sort of breathe new life into that character with Thor Ragnarok.
It's true.
I said to him, the soundtrack was great, by the way. If any of you are into that, Marvel's been doing great lately with their soundtracks. Soundtrack was killer.
Very Guardians-esque soundtrack.
And I don't know. I gotta look up the credits, the music credits, because I don't know what song that was that led into like the 5 years later. But that was for whatever reason that song really
that was great. Yeah, that was
transitioned
great.
the mood very well. That's sort of like almost like bluesy sort of.
Yeah.
It was good.
I don't know. From what I understand, Spider-Man's actually supposed to close out the phase, and it's not part of the next phase. So we'll see what happens there.
They've
And then
got
I don't
space
know
with that because that could have happened before. Infinity
but
War.
I just don't know where they go from here because everything is closed. Everything that has been building to this is gone. Everything is done. You know, there are a couple.
They've got a few threads
slight
they can
things,
pull.
but it's
you imagine
but it's nothing major.
Captain Marvel's going to
Like,
have another movie.
But we didn't get teases of any Eternals. We didn't get teases of any Galactus or Silver Surfer.
Yeah,
or
nothing like that. They
anything
sort of let
like
us
that.
have a happy-ish ending.
It's like I said, this
It's wide
could be an
open.
end. Yeah.
It won't be because they're going to keep making money.
This is gonna rack in billions.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be.
And they're going to reinvest it. We're going to get a bunch new.
Oh yeah.
Superhero movies.
Yeah.
And what's great is most of these people, even though a lot of them aren't really moving forward with their superheroes anymore, you have a lot of potential for cameos.
Mm-hmm.
You can take people and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy."
Mm-hmm.
The only people you're not going to be able to do that with is Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And even then, they could be called back for flashbacks or
there's
important holograms or whatever.
There's that theory that Robert Downey might do like an AI program.
Yeah, that could. If his kid becomes the next Iron Man or something, he could
Ironheart. If she takes that on that mantle, they're definitely breeding that next generation. They're getting ready for the next generation. You can see it all blossom. All the kids are getting a little older. Shuri, is that her name?
Shuri,
Black Panther's
she
little sister.
had
She had a nice
there.
little role. I don't think she had a line. I don't think she really had a line in this movie, but she was there.
But
I didn't really know who she was.
Oh well.
And then we have Hawkeye. There's a scene where Hawkeye's training his daughter in archery, like right before the snap in the very beginning.
And
of the movie.
he calls her
Hawkeye, so maybe he's passing the torch there.
She seems to be a replacement for Kate Bishop.
I don't know if he'll ever tell her how many people he murdered.
I think we could sit here all night and like
talk about this.
Talk about what could happen. But I think bottom line, go see the movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Go see. You've seen the movie. If you watch this, hopefully you've seen the movie. If not, what are you doing? Go watch the movie. Don't watch a friggin' YouTube discussion about it. And hey, as she said, if you enjoyed this discussion, please leave a comment below. Please subscribe to the channel. Please give this a thumbs up. And all that said, head on over to drunkonwriting.com as well, and help support the channel, the podcast, the whatever I got there. I got t-shirts for sale. Go watch our exclusive shows. We'll have some new announcements coming soon. And until then, as always, cheers and keep on riding.
Good night, YouTube.